Recently, I've become obsessed with the podcast How I've Built This. It's done by Guy Raz and NPR, and he interviews entrepreneurs and talks about how they built their billion-dollar companies. Now, Work Wisdom is not some giant gazillion-dollar company, but its remarkable beginnings and perhaps improbable success make me think we need to have a How I Built This episode on The Behaviorist. So, Guy Raz, you're a star, and I love your show. This is an homage to you. Welcome to The Behaviorist with Work Wisdom, where we help you adopt high-performance mindsets, behaviors, communication, and culture. I'm your host, Sarah Colantonio. Our intention for the Behaviorist podcast is to share accessible, concrete practices that you can weave into your whole life to begin a shift toward joy and meaningful achievement. Today, we're turning our focus on how Work Wisdom was built. We're grateful to have Kedren Crosby from the Work Wisdom joining us. Kedren, how are you doing today?
I'm kind of nervous about this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe this first question will ease your mind, but probably not because it's a hard one. So you weren't planning on being an entrepreneur, were you? But when your original co-founder decided to do something else, you decided to go ahead and start Work Wisdom anyway. What made you decide to go ahead and start the company?
Desperation.
I'm sorry I laughed.
Well, I didn't really have any, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I felt like the ideas and the work around organizational behavior needed to have a place in the world in a very accessible, non-academic, sticky, to use Heath Brothers' language, way. And so I didn't really feel like I had a choice. Also, all of the website had been created. The business cards were pretty much almost printed. So I felt like, oh my gosh, all of this is almost done. I know I wasn't supposed to be the owner of this company, but all we need to do is talk to an attorney, transfer it into my name, and then this can live in the world, and we can be helpful in all the ways that I had dreamt of being helpful. But I was just going to be the vice president. So
you had a bunch of money saved, I'm guessing, to launch Work Wisdom.
Yeah, that would be no. No, I didn't ever plan to start the company. So I hadn't ever thought about what it takes to be a business owner. So when I had a week, well, actually, I didn't really have a week. The person who was going to start the company decided to go in a different direction, and I didn't have any way of making money. So I just jumped right in with both feet, got some clients, really wonderful clients right away, and they liked what we did. And so I did definitely live on credit cards for a little while. I sold my car. I had a lovely Honda SUV that I sold, and so I think I was able to live on that for about 6 months. Bought a Mercedes station wagon from 1987. It was gorgeous, but it didn't run and didn't have air conditioning. I was always sweaty and stinky for that first couple of years.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. But yeah, so it was living on credit cards and just selling as much stuff as I could.
Yeah. So that first year, how was that first year? What was like a major low from the first year of Work Wisdom?
A major low?
A major low.
Hopefully my voice will not quiver. It felt like on a regular basis, I couldn't pay my bills. But it didn't seem to bother me. In hindsight, it didn't bother me as much as it should have. I somehow kept believing that the work was important enough and that the clients were so gratified and so grateful for our work that it would all work out eventually. Or I would just run out of things to sell. And then I'd have to go get a real job. So I think the lows were probably around finances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if they talk about this on how I built this. I think lows for me were others in the space of this field who were not supportive, who were actively worked pretty hard to make sure that Work Wisdom was not going to be successful. So I think that was strengthening in that you really developed some depth of character.
Yeah.
You leaned in and you said, well, how am I going to deal with this person? How am I going to stay above the fray? What's my reaction going to be? So I think that imprints on you how you'll behave for years and years out, that first year.
What about the highs? What was the major high?
Oh
from
my gosh,
year one?
so many highs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was so many. And like I said, in hindsight, I wasn't all that worried about the money. Should have been. Two kids in high school. But the highs were really incredible. So highs, like I said, the clients were just so grateful that something like us existed.
Yeah.
Because nothing else like that was out there, which is really why I built this, was because when I was younger and Googled burnout, I couldn't find a resource. So I think one of the greatest highs was getting other people on the team, that there were other people who raised their hand or would come to me and say, gosh, I love this idea. How can I be part of it? And my first reaction was, are you kidding me? There's no money. There's no, there's very little, there's no celebrity. It's just being helpful. Yeah. And so I think that was probably all the greatest highs were the people who came to me and said, I really want to be part of this. And I have ideas. Yeah. And they were often better ideas than mine, and so it was really neat to be able to put together a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know what to do from day to day? It's complicated to be a business owner. So how did you figure that out?
You mean things like QuickBooks? I guess there's things, there are the operational things that you have to figure out. And I didn't use YouTube as much as maybe I could have. Maybe it was, I don't know. I guess it's almost 4.5 years ago. I asked questions of friends that had some inklings about how to do things, but it was surprisingly simple to do what we were doing. We're a sole proprietor LLC. We have an attorney at BCGL, Ted Brubaker, who was amazing. Yeah. And I'm sure he didn't charge me like even $5 an hour to do what he did. He was really helpful. Angie Lightfoot, the CFO at the YWCA, taught me how to start my own QuickBooks. And so there were just a lot of kind souls who were willing to look at me while I was in the gutter and say, "Oh, honey, here, let me tell you." Yeah. So those were some of the ways. I think in big ways, I have a practice that has served me really well for decades, but I have a morning practice where I do journaling and some meditation, some journaling, some prayer, some all kinds of things, the things, yoga now. And that practice, if you look back on my journals, that's where I am making huge decisions about which service lines to launch, which ones not to, what target markets to pursue, which ones not to. And so the gleaning really happens in my journaling.
Yeah. Wow. Now that you're in your 4th year, what would you say to Kedren in that first year to help her?
Is this the part where I start crying? What would I say? Just be yourself.
Okay. That's it.
Do you want more answers than that? I would probably say, we never did loans. I just sold stuff.
Yeah.
Who needs that saxophone from high school? So I wouldn't, I know that some entrepreneurs look back and say to their earlier selves, take the loan. Luckily, we didn't have to.
Yeah.
What would I have said? I think I would have said just that, be true to yourself, follow the instincts about what to say no to.
Yeah.
Although I am really grateful to people who pushed me to try and do things that were a little bit outside of my comfort zone. Originally we weren't going to do any strategy. And as I said on our last podcast, we had a colleague at a local foundation who really encouraged me to think about doing strategy, even though I didn't really see that as part of our service lines originally. So yeah, I think trusting yourself, actually I got some great advice from my mentor about 6 months ago, which is only work with companies that value you.
Yeah.
So I think those first couple of years, we definitely worked with anyone who would talk to us, even if they treated us like complete garbage.
Yeah.
And I was pretty good at taking it too. So I think that I would have maybe said that to my earlier self.
Okay.
How about just work with companies that value you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Guy Raz, he always asks this of the entrepreneurs that he interviews. How much of Work Wisdom's success is luck and how much is hard work?
It's got to be the combination.
Okay.
What do they say on how I built this? I don't know. For me, it's absolutely the combination. You have to couple them. Yeah. So you wait for the luck and then you work really hard once it comes, or you're working really hard so that the luck comes. Yeah. But I think there should be one word for it. Yeah. The Germans probably have some long word that's like luck, hard work. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Freudian. Yeah. So I think it has to be both of them together. Yeah. Lots of miracles.
Yeah. Every day. To the aspiring organizational behaviorists out there, what piece of advice do you want to impart to them?
I think they need to know what their purpose on the planet is.
Okay.
And I think they need to have a lot of self-awareness. They need to know who they are, where they're best, what their differentiators are. Some aspiring organizational behaviorists are probably best positioned to be academics. Okay. And some, if they're outdoor cats like we are and are very interested in applied organizational behavior, then they could start something like we have. Yeah. Try and figure out how to help people who are in it. So I think it depends on the individual. Okay.
Thank you for telling your story and having the grit to start a company the world absolutely needs. And I'm really grateful to you for being part of this movement of helping world changers in the workplace to enhance their individual and collective team performance. Thank you, listeners, for downloading The Behaviorist. We hope you'll subscribe. Please reach out to us through our website, workwisdomllc.com, where you can enjoy Work Wisdom press and productions, ask questions, and give suggestions of topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes. As is our custom, we'll leave you with 1-minute wisdom. The master, while being gracious to all his disciples, could not conceal his preference for those who lived in the world, the married, the merchants, the farmers, over those who lived in the monastery. When he was confronted about this, he said, spirituality practiced in the state of activity is incomparably superior to that practiced in the state of withdrawal.